Hello, this is me, less grumpy than last time I recorded, but much brighter because of this. Now that I'm a YouTuber, I've got a halo lamp, which is useless for drawing because the tripod it's on isn't high enough to clear the desk, and when it does, it falls over. So I will be using my daughter's music stand, as I have been in the last few videos, and I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So this should be a voyage for the both of us. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to do some more sketchbook stuff. That's what I've been working on recently, and I'd like to get it finished. In terms of getting it finished, I decided to put bookmarks in all of the empty pages, and I ran out of bookmarks, so I'm having to move them around as I finish pages. I haven't been sharing everything I've done to social media because sometimes it doesn't feel necessary, but because I'm thinking of this as a book now, it feels like I should be doing pages which work as part of a book, even if they don't work as individual images as good. This one specifically has been done to work with this page. Right, so the other thing I've been doing is that just on a whim, I started doing very old, so when I started doing comics 10 or so years ago, I did it in this style, which I called the Intercorstal. The Intercorstal is quite a lot to unpack, but I've done a few. They've been relatively well received. I've sort of put them in there as, what's the word I'm looking for? Texture, narrative texture. So something to break up the steady flow. And then I've also got to start thinking of the book in terms of, if I'm going to create something out of it, I can't have licensed characters like Man-Thing, and then later on in the book I've got the some Spider-Man baddies, so I've got to find something to do with them. But right, so for the purposes of today's video, I think I might do another intercorsal page and just work it really quickly. I'll do it on the back of this page here. I'll do a double page spread because why not? I've also got to figure out something to do with this. This is nice, but it's not enough. Right, so first things first is to draw in the date, which I believe is the 31st of May. This is only the first thing that I do for this project. I think this is 91. Okay, I'm going to assume this is 91. If it's not, it'll become part of the puzzle. And what I was about to say is that as a reading experience, as you go through and you check the dates and the number here, it creates its own separate rhythm and pattern out of the book, which is quite interesting. So I said I was going to do a double page, but this is only going to be a quick video today. So I'm just going to do the single. And people who make comics properly will be horrified that I'm literally just making up these panels as I go. I've said that before, but I mean, this is even rougher than usual. And I'm paying absolutely no attention to any sort of bleed or trim area on the edge for these pages. And that's for a specific reason, actually, is that when I scan these in, I'm going to leave the edges on there. So rather than have the edge of this be the printable area, the printable area is going to come a little bit further out. So I'm going to do this. Okay, and then the idea with these is that there's no great finesse to these pages. They just I just start sticking stuff in them. So in a second, what I'm going to try and do is do a sort of stop motion thing where I pause and restart the video as I go. I've drawn a paint line on this to show that it's almost out of life. So I'm going to swap pens and start filling in areas on this page with a stop-start thing, which may or may not be interesting. We'll see. Right, I'm just going to put some patterns and stuff in this area. So while I do that, I figure it might be worth talking about the intercourse a little bit. It was what I started doing by accident when I started making comics. I didn't have any idea what I was doing, and I was doing smaller than A5 comic pages at a time, and they all looked a little bit like this, a bit tighter. I was using fine liners rather than brush pens. I suppose it doesn't matter. And they were very tight, and I was experimenting with narrative. I gave that up later on when I started doing sort of more formal work around comic pages. But at the time I was trying to come up with a narrative. The Intercorstal, as I thought about it, was a realm in between. It was, the way I saw it in my brain was, it was a world that was just around the corner of what you could see. So it was like sort of half of another dimension. And then there's this character, who I might draw in a minute, who is some sort of alien who went into a pond for some reason, drank from the pond and hallucinated and ended up in the Intercorstal. And then over time, the Intercorstal became like solidified as a place in my mind and how I illustrated it, and there was things which kept repeating. So one of the things was these eyes. Another thing was these things, which in my brain I called wind houses. They were just houses up on hills. There's also pyramids and horse hooks, which I can't draw anymore. They were like these really elaborate hooks with spikes coming off them. I don't know any of it did, but there was just this mythology that I was working with as I made it. And yeah, I did loads of it. But as I say, it eventually stopped. It stopped being interesting to me when I realised that I was just going through a process rather than making stuff, and also that I didn't feel like I'd earned my dues when I started making it. So to earn my dues, I did what nobody else did and just started making abstract comics based on my own rules, and just made lots of them, and I am where I am now. So this is a style of making comics which I had abandoned until this week, and I'm not sure about it still, but it's here now, so I'm living with that. I don't know if I've got anything else to say about it right now. If anybody has any questions, let me know in the comments or via Twitter or email, which if you're watching this you've probably got already. I'll go back to doing the pause and start thing. Tell you what, I just thought, which I should mention, is that when I started working on these, I was really, really into the band Subtle. But they're my favourite band, and they still are now. I've been listening to them again recently, so maybe that's part of why I started drawing these again. But they made sort of experimental dance, hip-hop stuff, but they were telling a story about a middle-class rapper called Our Hero Yes, who was stuck in a sort of semi-imaginary realm and sending out pop songs from that. So a lot of the sort of narrative stuff that I was doing in my comics, I was just trying to copy that, and I just that's where I was coming from, and I don't think it served the band well, because not everybody who listened got what was going on, and I only really understand it on a sort of subconscious level. So when they talk about the long vein of the law, or Dr. Moonagun, I know who those people are, but I wouldn't be able to describe them to you. So yeah, so there's another reason why maybe me going off in my own direction for a little while was a good idea. I did mention this in an interview I did recently with Yestin Pettigrew, which I don't think's online yet, but I said how Subtle as a band really massively influenced who I am as a creator, for better or worse. And just before I click pause again, this is another repeating element from the Intercorstal. I called them eye strips, and they were just that you'd see them all over the place. They were just strips of eyes in different shapes. Oh, I'll tell you one other thing which I nicked from Subtle was they had a repeating motif of plastic forks with wings. So I used to draw forks all over the place. Forks. I think I used to do 3-tined forks. It may have been 4. Doesn't matter very much. Forks and hands. I used to, and just like really basic crap hands. I need to draw like that and put them all over the place. Oh, stripes. That was another thing that I nicked from Subtle, and the aesthetic that they had going on at the time. They had lots of stripes everywhere, and so I did. I'm starting to wonder now that I'm thinking it out loud whether or not the Intercorstal started off as Subtle fan work. It may have. I did do like a fan drawing for them of a skull with flying plastic forks flying around them, and I gave that to them at a gig in Plastic People, I think in I assume Shoreditch, I can't remember. It was underneath a kebab shop. And I also gave, I think it was at Themselves gig a few years later, that I gave Dose One and Gel each a copy of the first Intercorstal thing I did, that I made on a photocopier. I never heard back from them whether they liked it or not, which is fine. They may have lost it, I don't know. I've not dared to ask them again. My camera is about to run out of, my phone's about to run out of batteries, so I'm going to have to cut this video short. And I'll tell you what, this is an easy way to fill in space. I'll just put some dots in here. And it's not just empty space, it's full, it's a space full of dots. I mean, obviously he's already got dots in his neck, and I don't know who he is, so it's weird that I'm referring to him as a him. Right, let's stop the video. Right, so there you go, another page done. Me talking about Subtle more than I meant to, but that's good. Yeah, new page done there. I've painted over worse, I've painted over better. We'll see how it goes. Right, so usual things, like, subscribe, tell your friends, leave a comment, drink lots of water, eat vegetables, and secure your Zoom chats.